Bar for Bar album reviews. Armani Caesar, The Liz. The Liz is the Griselda debut of Buffalo rapper Armani Caesar. Many people, after learning that Armani Caesar signed to Griselda, doubted her ability and quickly dismissed her, mostly due to her being a female rapper. However, after the handful of features and the release of this album, I'm sure that many have changed their opinions of her. This album is titled both after Elizabeth Taylor as well as wrestling manager Miss Elizabeth. These choices alone should tell fans of Griselda's music that she's going to be influenced by a lot of the same things that the other members are influenced by. The Liz comes in at a total runtime of 25 minutes with 11 tracks, so it's a fairly quick listen. And this is a good thing, and what I would recommend for a lot of new artists for their debut album. Especially because people may not know you, and they may have their doubts about you. This runtime really allows for most listeners to be able to get a good idea of your sound and whether or not they'll enjoy the project or whatever else you have to offer. This album starts off with an intro from CB4, in which Sissy is speaking to two women regarding money moves and hustling. She implies that they need to get something more out of their engagements with men other than exposure. The first song on this project is Countdown, and this track does a great job of letting the listener know what Armani Caesar is about. Looking at the lyrics themselves really makes you question why people were doubting her as a female MC, especially when what she's saying on this track falls pretty well in line with the rest of Griselda's typical content. She definitely fits the Griselda aesthetic, especially with this line, "Moved half a mil of yours to cross straight lines, even held you down when you did that little state time. Now you got me on some murder shit, cutting brake lines. Just thinking about this shit got me sick, and I never thought you would have switched, and I really thought you would commit, and I really thought that was my dick. Turned out you wasn't shit." It's a pretty cold line, which, given the circumstances that she is listed, makes a lot of sense. I really did enjoy this track as an introduction to her because the beat is fairly stripped back and her voice is at the forefront. And this is important to mention because at times later on in the project, I feel that her levels were a little bit low and sometimes got taken over by the instrumental. However, that may have been completely intentional. So, the second track on this album is Mac 10s for Everybody. This track was teased on social media the week leading up to the album's release, and it really boosted my excitement for this project. The beat again is pretty stripped back, and it starts off with Caesar just straight rapping. The only thing that I didn't really care for on this song was Westside Gunn on the hook. I feel like, in general, his hooks are a bit hit or miss for me. However, I imagine after more listens, many people would probably be just fine with it. This track's cool because it touches on a bit of the path that Armani took to get where she is today with her pink Bentley named Majin Buu. The Liz is one of those tracks that could have been put in as an intro, but would also serve pretty well as an interlude. It's not labeled as either, but it does serve well to separate the first few songs of the album from the next couple of songs that have full rap features. This is also one of the first songs that I was referring to with the levels feeling a little bit off. Again, it's not a huge deal, but given that she has a bunch of fun lines like "Call my new Glock jelly, I promise it won't jam," and "Elastic Girl, I'm so out of their reach," I just feel like it was a little bit more balanced, so more people would just pick up on it right away. I do like that this track pretty much has no room to breathe though, meaning Armani just rapped for pretty much the entirety of the track. And it was all just one verse. And she just, I feel like she has this rapping style that really lends itself well to tracks like this. Gucci Casket is the first track with a rap feature from Conway the Machine. The beat on this track definitely fits the title. It just feels so luxurious. Armani's verse is pretty good, but having Conway on the track is just asking for trouble. I definitely do prefer his verse and delivery, but that doesn't mean that Armani didn't hold her own. But to me, I just didn't really care for this track in general, and it suffers from some of the same level issues that I mentioned with the previous tracks. Next, we have the first of the two Benny the Butcher features with the track Drillorama. Benny and Armani have great chemistry on tracks, so this is definitely one of my favorite tracks on the album. Armani Caesar really gets into her bag when it comes to these higher energy tracks, like we saw on Anza off of Conway's album. I really like the flow on this song too, because even though there is a chorus, it definitely doesn't feel like one, and instead feels more like a continuation of the first verse. I also just enjoyed the trading of bars that we got on the first bit. This track then flows into the second Benny feature with Simply Done. This was the first single for the album and is produced by DJ Premier. And I like this track again because it is a higher energy track, and Armani flows really well. And I feel like she did a little bit of a better job than Benny did, since his verse to me just didn't quite fit the beat, and it felt like it was a little bit off at times. I'm not a fan of Yum Yum, but I see its appeal. I do appreciate that Armani feels really comfortable on this type of track though, because there's definitely an audience for it. Palm Angels shows a bit of a different side of Armani Caesar from what we've seen thus far. The track starts off with her talking about her new man and how he's just so much better than the old one, even if he isn't super flashy or anything. I also just like the bit about her cooking bricks because those tidbits are really great for building up her backstory without being overly obvious about it. The beat is really nice too, and it fits the overall luxury feel of this album. Ginger Rothstein takes inspiration from the film Casino and has Armani Caesar talking about her money moves and how people are jealous of her. She also mentions that she's only doing this for a couple of years and then she'll get out after that. It's unclear exactly what she means regarding this because she could be referring to a few things. One of which could be drug dealing, which she mentioned in the previous track. This makes sense because this is the same sort of idea that a lot of people have when they first get into it. The second option is that she's talking about the rap game. She just wants to stop by for a little bit, make her money, and then move on. And that's totally legitimate. However, the final option is that it just could be an allusion to the film itself, which is really the most likely case. The final track on this project is Money Moves Freestyle. I feel like this track is a pretty good outro because it really brings everything together and does a really good job of wrapping things up. And it almost makes it feel like the final scenes of a movie, mostly due to the beat. The Liz is a great introduction for many to Armani Caesar and her style of rap. Although it may not be for everyone, it is still definitely worth a listen, and I can see many people enjoying it. Given that this is her Griselda debut, it's safe to assume that she'll only be getting better from this point on. My favorite tracks are Countdown, Mac 10s for Everybody, The Liz, Drillorama, and Simply Done. As far as what I want from the future, I mean, just keep doing this. I know that we're gonna get better projects from Armani Caesar in the future because very rarely do people significantly drop off, you know what I mean? And she has the talent to really excel in the lane that she's in. Anyways, let me know in the comments below what you thought of this album if you have listened to it. Also, like and subscribe if you want to see more reviews and content like this. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.